Hey, what's going on? My name is Caustic and welcome back to another video. So recently I posted this video just kind of sharing how I make bass fills. And it's been getting so much love from every single one of you guys, so I just wanted to say thank you so much. But I had somebody in the comments by the name Joe Peasley ask if there was a way that you can integrate this into a drop essentially, or wanting to see this method integrated into a drop. And so I wanted to kind of show my process through this. And it's kind of funny when I saw that comment because I recently made this track here, and it's very different from what I normally make in terms of like how I produced it, but there's a lot of Portal sounds that I used throughout this drop here. And so I wanted to kind of show my method through this, but also just kind of demonstrate how you can use these bass fills to actually make drops for dubstep. So I'm going to play the drop here, and then I'll kind of just break this down and show you what's going on here.
You're not dying. You're being studied.
All right, perfect. So now I'm going to play the drop here without the Portal sounds, so you can kind of hear what these are doing. So I'll start the drop again, and then I'm going to mute all of the Portal sounds, and yeah.
You're being studied.
And these are the Portal sounds by themselves here. So you can hear just how much weight that these are carrying through the drop. But if you take them out, the drop is pretty bland. So yeah, I'm going to just kind of jump in here and just kind of show you what sounds I'm using where and how I kind of stack these. If you have not seen this bass fill video, highly recommend checking it out before jumping into this video, just so you kind of know a little bit more about what's going on. Basically, brief breakdown is you make a really long kind of like sustained bass, do a lot of weird automations to it and have it change over time. And then I use one of my favorite plugins called Portal here. And this is essentially just a granulator that has insane potential and just so much customizability within all of these different sounds and kind of knobs here. But you also have all of these different presets here, and they're all made for different things. But when you're using the bass design kind of stuff, you can comb through each of these and they'll drastically change the sound. But basically what you do is you take an entire sample, you record like 3-4 minutes of it just absolutely changing and just warping and contorting and just doing weird things. And then I normally chop them up, and I'll find my favorite parts out of all of what was recorded. And then you can come in here and I just save them in a massive folder. Yeah, they're like super weird. But yeah, I may also give some of these away if you guys would like some of these cool little sounds. I have quite a lot and I'm always making more. But yeah, so I essentially used all of these in the drop, or not all of them, but like a lot of different iterations of them. Like But yeah, so there's a lot of different things that I did to these samples specifically. And so I'm going to kind of just walk you through what I was doing and the processing that I have, because the processing is doing a lot for these basses. And most of the time, you're going to just see this OTT saturation combo, which is just going to be like how I process literally all of my basses when it comes to dubstep. But with Portal Sounds, you can get a lot of really cool kind of interactions with the sound when you stretch it out and use texture. So this is the original sound here. I'm going to just take off all of this. And so I really like this initial first hit. And that's what I had to kind of start off the drop here. And so what I did with this is I turned on warp and then just multiplied it by 2. And then I messed around with these texture faders and the grain size and the flux to kind of give you a more stuttering kind of effect. But in short, it sounded really cool. And that's kind of how I kept this here. Actually, sorry, it's even shorter. Just to create a little bit more rhythm. I tend to use texture a lot when I'm using these Portal Sounds through my drops, just because it does create that little bit of rhythm through the sound as it kind of skips through the grains. I also had somebody say that putting a 404 kick underneath the Portal Sounds while I'm making them would help the randomness not be so random. But honestly, I feel like when you're kind of flying blind, the level of creativity that you can apply to these sounds and where to put them greatly increases than just kind of sticking to a 4-4 kind of kick underneath. But that's also just my personal preference. But yeah, so this is kind of how I process this one. Doing the texture and then OTT and saturation all the time. I also love grabbing these little like glitch sounds. You can find a lot of these off of Splice and stuff like that. This is currently running through a portal that should not be there. But yeah, so that's just creating a little bit more metalliciness. A lot of these are some of the big ones that are kind of leading the drop here. You also got these guys. And you can see too that these are just absolutely shoved to shit and like so crunched, but it just added a lot more texture to the actual bass itself. A lot of these, you know, you got some really weird processing on them. I'm curious to see what this actually sounds like without all the processing. So for this sound specifically, doing a vocoder, we got some OTT here, saturation, EQ8, got a little bit of disperser. We got another vocoder here, auto filter, and these are all kind of doing some weird automation stuff. And then just crunching it out with OTT. Saturation back into an auto filter, more OTT, EQ, and then another saturator. But yeah, so this is kind of more so just how I implement them. A lot of these are just going to be taking like really short. I don't know, we could do like a new one real quick. Like that first part has a little bit of rhythm to it, so I'd probably use that. And so then what I do here is I would probably actually texture this. So as you can see or hear, you're already getting that rhythm here by increasing the grain size. And so then you can kind of blow the sound out. And then we could do like some saturation. And then we could also do some serum effects and use some overdrive here. I've been really trying to get into the overdrive game lately because the actual like overall effect sounds really sick, but it only works sometimes on basses, I find. Like that one I probably wouldn't want to do, but I'm very aware that this is a very like grunging sound, but when you throw it into context with a lot of other sounds, it's also a little bit too high in pitch, so maybe this is a bad example. We could grab like these ones are really cool for this. Like you already get that rhythm a little bit with the sounds that are in place, but when you add this again on top, it adds just some really cool texture. But yeah, just kind of a brief little demonstration of how I've actually used these sounds in a drop and what they sound like. If you were to play the drop by themselves without the bass,
You're not dying. You're being studied.
they have a lot of movement in and of themselves. You're missing those couple little bass hits in between, where I wanted to carve out space for the actual bass itself, but kind of helps rhythm. One more thing that you could also do with these really interesting sounds, I actually do this on a lot of my tracks to just kind of create even more texture up in the high end, is I use these like large percussive kind of like robotic loops. And it's kind of stuttering now because I have a gate on it. Let me turn this off real quick. So I kind of put this under my drop, and then what I'll do is I will modulate the source or have like the sidechain effect come through. And this is coming from 35, which is this guy here. And so every single time this plays, it's triggering this gate, and it's playing this little kind of like loop over the basses, but then it's kind of cutting out. So like it's adding a lot of crunch to the high end here if I were to mute this. I don't know if this is translating over a phone or iPad or anything like that, but if you're wearing headphones, you should be able to hear kind of that like clickingness on top. I do that a lot though, just to add some more texture to the basses and add a little bit more of an interesting kind of sound that's buried and also integrated with all the other basses and stuff like that. But yeah, this is just kind of how I do my little portals. And again, this is something that I normally don't do and produce like. I wanted to challenge myself and mostly use samples for this, so this is kind of what shot out. But this is how you can integrate the kind of like portal sounds into your drops. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.